Greetings. I hope my message could reach you all from the 2020s well. I am number 721, also a human subject for drug testing. It might be confusing for you from 50 years ago. I will start from the very beginning, when I was innocent and uneducated. Since the start of my life, I have been living in an enclosed compartment. There was nothing in the cell but a slide and swing. No matter which direction I was facing, I could only see white walls, except one side, for which the walls should be made of glass, providing a view of the hideous corridor, along with the other cells. I nearly forgot to mention that there was also a long crack, extending from the ceiling towards the floor, resting on one of the white walls. The cell directly opposite to mine housed another target for drug tests. Though separated by glass barricades, we used to give each other stares. I guess he was my best friend. To be frank, the slide and the swing served no purpose in entertaining me. My best friend, number 689 though, looked more alive than those plastics that sat in my cell. We would sometimes mock each other, which must sound naive. However, this was the only thing that eliminated my loneliness during my life in the cell. I have received a myriad of injections, those humans in robes that came to my cell frequently, usually with syringes and a glass container in hand. I always wonder why they cover the fabric on their body, while I move around naked. They like to burrow through my skin with the needles and leave those colourless fluids inside my body. Pain usually ensues. A second dose would most likely halt the pain. I had never flinched. I thought I was entitled to receive such treatment, and that it was my fate. Everything started to change when I was about 10 years old, when I witnessed my dearest friend on the other side get a unique injection. The fluid for the injection was not colourless, but a remarkable purple. After he received the treatment, things started to go awry. Red swollen pox started to develop all over his skin. Pus started oozing out from the wounds. He looked like he was in agony. The day after, the fluid coming out of his body wasn't white anymore, but red. It was blood. He collapsed bathing in his own blood. I shed tears. My best friend was gone. His body was collected by those humans in robes. The cell was empty. All I could see was my reflection on the glass. Frustrated, I curled up in the corner of the room, yearning that he was resurrected and that I could see him again. All of a sudden the door opened. The only thing I saw was the flask in the man's hands, filled with the lethal purple liquid. My adrenaline started to rush, yet those men in robes thought I was a moron, that I was too stupid to know what would happen. They started to grab my arm. I floundered around and sprinted towards the half-open door. Despite the fact that I had no sense of direction, I ran until I reached the end of the corridor. I saw a dim corner with wooden doors. Without hesitation, I slid the doors open and hid myself inside. A suffocating smell pervaded the small room. It seemed like no one had been in this room for 10 years. Although I was panting heavily, I switched on the light and started to inspect the room. I found a tablet, a super hard one, unlike those used in the men in robes, which were extremely malleable. I also found a familiar token, which looked like it used to be inserted into the switch near my cell door for entry. I flipped open the interesting old-fashioned tablet and started pressing every key on the slide, which I assumed to be the base. The screen flashed and kept switching to different frames. Something appeared in a split second that caught my attention. It was a weird photo. The appearance of the man in the photo resembled one of the men in robes. Next to him was a stranger. Confused, I stood up and put the token in my mouth and tried to examine the unknown building I was in at that moment. I returned to the corridor. The men in robes were waiting for me patiently. They tackled me with ropes and sent me back to my cell. They were unaware of the experience I had just gone through. I spit out the token and placed it in the crack on the wall secretly. I saw the empty cell which belonged to my best friend and hosted a new occupant. He looked strangely the same as my best friend. I gazed upon him, but there was no sign of him recognizing me. Who was he? Was he my new friend? Was he not dead? The next day after the injection, I felt like it was the time when the men in robes were having a rest. I tried inserting the token in the switch. Out of my expectations, it worked. I left the cell and returned to the room I had been on the previous day. I flipped the tablet open. The same process repeated for around 10 years. During the process I learned everything from scratch, including the language the men use, the history of this world, and it was revealed to me that I was a subject for drug testing. Human drug testing had started to become prevalent in the 2050s upon the legalization of the process. Both animal and human testing were now legal and within the norms of the medical field. I also learned that the huge crevice in the wall of my cell was made by an enormous mutated creature. To enhance drug testing on humans, human cloning was adapted. I guess that was applied to my best friend. I guess some of you would like to know how I could learn all these things at such a rapid pace. I honestly have no idea. At first I stumbled across a searching engine and noticed that I could type out these symbols on the keys to form a long chain. The surroundings gave me clues to type in new combinations of these symbols, or alphabets. I remember the first word I searched was nails, since it was printed on a box of iron nails. I can't remember the rest. Basically, I surfed the internet and discovered the ancient language learning websites. My learning ability may be correlated with my brain. There might be a possibility that they did something to my genome. It is also possible that I am a clone of a highly intelligent being. After all, my identity is still a mystery. I began to be aware of the situation I was currently in. I yearned for a life like the other humans. I wished my house wasn't a cell. I prayed that those men in robes, known as scientists, could just disappear. Unfortunately, the scientists noticed it. One asked, "Do you understand what I am saying?" He leaned towards me and looked away. The colourless man in front of me looked so obnoxious. "Great, you must be possessed by the devil," he continued. I stared at him. The stare wasn't friendly, as he wasn't my best friend. It was the first time he had looked worried. Several of his companions arrived to my cell. Ironically, the scene kind of looked like the photo I saw on the news, which showed the mutated animal surrounded by a group of scientists. They grabbed my arms, but I didn't struggle. I was led by the group out of the cell into a room. The room was airy, with an irritating, acrid smell. I saw my best friend, who looked so pale. He was without a body. The horn of the mutated animal also appeared in my field of vision. My instinct told me that the room was filled with the smell of formaldehyde. I was told to sit on a chair. "Let's kill this human for good," I heard them discussing. One of them went searching for the chemicals on the cabinet. "What a headache, where's the purple stuff?" he demanded, and ordered the other scientist to search for what he wanted. I thought I was going to suffer the same death as my best friend, having my blood gushing out of my body. My heart began to pound and I felt like I was going to explode before I even received the treatment. The scientist came back with the violet poison and opened the lid of the flask and began to approach me. I was so glad they thought I was uneducated and stupid. They didn't tie me up. I stood up and accidentally pushed the approaching scientist away. Feeling panicked, he spilled the purple fluid all over himself. His scream was jarring, yet somehow satisfying. Again, like 10 years ago, I ran in spite of my poor sense of direction. I passed through different sections of the building. I saw dogs, cats, and other animals that were resting in cages with their hollow, empty souls. I reached my favourite room, took the tablet, and continued to run for my life. So messed up the building as I fled the building at last. The outdoor of the building looks like what I have been seeing on the tablet. I continued to run until I was fatigued. I am currently in a grassland, which makes a good hiding place. No matter if I would die or survive tomorrow, I should make use of this weird messaging system to warn all in the past. You or your clone might be a target for the experiment. Be safe. Cheers. Number 721. Hey guys, and thank you for listening to the story today. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a short one, but I think it was a good one nonetheless. And if you could please subscribe if you enjoyed the story, and maybe leave a like and a comment telling me what you enjoyed about it. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.